Hey everyone, David Petrangelo here to start out this video version of the Creature Cast this week. We ran into a small video hiccup, so for the first little bit of the episode, we'll be talking, but you won't see us, and then eventually we'll click in and we'll have our visuals. You'll see our pretty faces, and you'll be able to see some trailers and gameplay that we're playing as well over our discussion of Final Fantasy and the other games in the episode. So just thought I'd give you a quick heads up. Thanks again for joining us, and without further ado, the rest of the Creature Cast.
Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I am your host this week, Steve Vardy. Alongside me right now, my good pal Bobby. Bobby, how are you doing?
Beautiful.
Love that.
That tells you anything.
Yeah, I love that energy. You're coming in hot this week for good reason too.
Burning up like a meteor, you would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone that's clicked on this episode, they already know this one's going to be all about our spoiler-free Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review. You've got a chance to play it thanks to Square Enix. So very excited to hear your thoughts on the game. I know Dave will be joining us momentarily, but yeah, as the resident Final Fantasy fan, Final Fantasy VII fan as well, I want to give you the floor. What top level? How are you feeling about this game now that we're imminently upon its release? Reviews are dropping. How are you feeling?
I'm kind of depressed, to be honest with you.
Oh shit!
I mean, in the best way possible.
Oh,
because God, we have to wait another potentially 4 years to see what happens. Because, honestly, top level review, this game fucks. This is the game you want to play.
Put it on the box. This game fucks.
It fucks. It really does. Because there are obviously some. We'll get into it later, but there are obviously elements that have always been hinted at, and the Rebirth kind of fleshes out those hints.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get into that later. But overall, I think I'm at a loss for words. I'm just really flabbergasted that this game exists and that it's 1 week away from launching.
Yeah.
And it's been a surreal 10 years because I was at PlayStation Experience when this was announced in 2015.
Wow, yeah.
And seeing where it is from there to 2024, I mean, it's been 9 years and some change, but wow, I still don't believe this project exists. I'm at a loss for words, just understanding this game and what it means to so many people and growing up with it, and just it really is a game that shaped a lot of people in their tastes and their preferences and just everything. It really is a special game. For me, it is one of the best games of all time. But yeah, I mean, let's start from wherever you want. I mean, is there anything you want to know?
Yeah, I took down some notes and talking points because I'm genuinely curious. I mean, I am historically not a Final Fantasy fan, but I have said on many of these shows, I'm a Final Fantasy VII Remake fan. I am a diehard. Yes. I loved it. That was my coming to Jesus moment, if you will. That was the moment where I was like, oh, I get it now. I was Danny DeVito at the when Mac's dancing, when he's coming out of the closet and Danny DeVito is sitting there, he's Frank, and he's like, oh, I get it now. That was my moment. And ever since then, I've been eagerly awaiting this game. So I kind of want to know, for me coming into it, I have high expectations, obviously, because the first remake was of such high caliber, not only in its, systems, but also just in terms of its fidelity and everything. So I kind of just want to know, for you, someone who's followed the entire Final Fantasy franchise, but specifically the original version of 7, does this now middle entry meet your expectations, exceeded your expectations? How are you walking away with it? Are you saying, okay, this is exactly what I was expecting, not in terms of story beats or anything like that, because we're keeping it spoiler free, but just in terms of the quality, in terms of the experience itself?
Yeah. Okay. So it exceeds every expectation I had across the board. Everything about this game exceeds what remake was in every way. Remake is your version of a pizza pie. It's got some pineapple on it. Rebirth It does away with all that, and it's
Oh
a
my
straight
God.
up simple margarita pizza
Love it.
made in Italy by a pizza chef. That's what this game is. It is like the most pure version of whatever a JRPG is, what Final Fantasy VII is, and the developers like truly understand what makes this game so beloved, what makes it tick, and elevates every aspect of the source material in every way imaginable. Like, everything that I went in thinking went out the door and kind of realigned itself with what their vision is instead of what I thought this game was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So from the top, like, it is a straight continuation. So you're picking up right where Intergrade left off. So like Cloud and party have left Midgard, they're on the way to Calm, and you pick up right from there. And I mean, I'm assuming most people played the demo that launched a couple weeks ago, where you play as Sephiroth and Cloud. That is the opening section. That is the first chapter, and that is basically a perfect introduction to what this game is. So, like, if you've played that, you kind of know what you're getting into. But it isn't until you hit the second chapter where you're finally open in the open world that it all comes together. Because without that open world, I don't think this game would have meshed as well as it did. That's what I feel is the most important detail in this game. Is this world is really what makes these characters shine. It is such a beloved world
Mm-hmm.
and character set because they combine each other and they basically pair with each other. Like, they're perfectly made for each other.
Right. Well,
So going to Calm, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just kind of jumping off of that quickly, and then we can get back to it. I'm just kind of curious, like, does the open world justify itself in terms of not only the gameplay, but what you're talking about, like character moments? Is it more or less just a vessel to interact with these characters, see how they mesh together, see how they can go off on individual adventures and stuff like that? Like, explain to me how the open world differs in terms of its placement in this entry versus, remake, which was kind of more, there were some like open areas, but there were more or less like closed off hubs, if you will.
Right. So perfect example is you have Remake, which was lots of corridors, linear
Mhm.
paths, very corporate. Everything was kind of dull.
Yeah.
You knew what you were going. Like, you know what was basically coming as you were playing the story. You were going to different sectors. It all kind of blended together. The moment you step out of Midgar and you enter the world, I think it's like the best way to put it is like a filter comes on and you finally get to see all the color come to life. So you see the world come to life in that aspect.
That's cool.
The best way to say it is, I actually put it, there's actually a quote here. So there's a little preview in I believe it's a demo, and Era's like, wow. She's like, there's so much beauty in this world. And she's like, I've never seen so much green before. But Red's like, well, it may look that way, but in reality, the world's barely hanging on. So, like, you kind of get like duality of it. Like, this world is
Right.
gorgeous, but you kind of understand that there's some really high stakes going on because what Sephiroth has done and what you need to do to follow him is kind of where now the game kicks into overdrive, because now you have a mission, you have this world you need to track him down in, and the game opens up in the grasslands just like it did in FF7 Vanilla, which is what I kind of prefer to call it. It's the original. It's the first open section of the game that you experience. It is stunning. Like, I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. It is probably one of the most stunning sections of the game. It's also the first one you encounter, and it's got everything. So you have little towns everywhere. You've got chocobo stops. You've got
Mhm.
farms. You've got like ruins of of the old Republic of Junon. So everything there has a purpose. Like, everything you see is explorable. You can go there. There's likely a mission there that isn't just there for the purpose of being a mission. So there are
Okay.
missions obviously in the game, but they are integral to the story, kind of just like the Witchers. Like, I know that's kind of what the reference was in a lot of interviews for Rebirth. The Witcher side quests were kind of like, I guess, the gold standard for a while.
Yeah.
So in that regard, like, they nail it. Every mission kind of has a purpose, and they're all well worth just doing because they build your relationships between people. So, like, there's a mission early on where you're on a chocobo farm and the farmhand has a wagon that needs repairing, and it feels like a simple fetch quest. And in reality, sure, it is, but the whole point of this mission is you're building a relationship with Aerith because she's investigating what's going on in this village and why this wagon's broken, and then she gets to learn why the farmhand just let everything go. And then it's up to Cloud to whether accept the mission or just say, nope, we don't want to do it, let's keep going. And that affects your relationship with her. So obviously there are elements that build further on in the story when you hit the gold saucer. So like these are things you want to make note of where you're building relationships early on so that the payoff comes later when you get to the gold saucer.
Interesting. Yeah, because I mean, for me, I only have so many like points of reference in terms of the series, but as soon as I heard, oh, they're going for a more, vast scope open world, I was like, oof. I just came off FF16, which, to the game's credit, I mean, they had some very great side quests, but a lot of them were side quests,
for the sake of being there.
Exactly. It was just padded the experience. And in my opinion, it derailed some of the momentum of the storytelling where it was like you come off these grandiose boss battles and then you're picking up rocks for some old villager. So I'm happy to know coming into this that it's like, okay, it's worth exploring just as much as it was in Remake, because in my opinion, I think that all the side quests and all the supplemental content of Remake was worth investigating. It was part of the overall experience, and I walked away pleasantly surprised in that sense.
And that's what they did. They kind of doubled down on that and I guess fine-tuned it. I want to say that they amped it up, but they fine-tuned it so it feels a lot more integrated. The payoff is way more worth it, right? Because you're building not only repertoire with these characters, but you're learning more about them and like their resolutions and who they really are. So like you're getting it is like a double-ended. It's a double prize basically. You obviously get the character moments, but you also get obviously the rewards. So like it is definitely worth experiencing them all, and they only get better. Like as you progress into the story, every new section of the game, they get bigger and better. Like the quests just really flesh out these characters in a way that the original could never have done, and I'm thankful for that because these versions of these characters like Cloud and Tifa and Aerith, bar none, are the best depictions. Like they blow out everything out of the water, and it isn't until you get maybe halfway and you're like, wow, there are some really great character moments that you would have never ever experienced in any other medium, because to do this in a movie or a show, probably possible, but it's not as rewarding because you're not really controlling them, you're just kind of watching it. So like you're actively putting them in the situations and you're able to mold what their decisions are, and it feels good.
Let's take a moment just to introduce Dave. He finally joined us. Woo! Dave's here.
Yay!
We're talking about Bluey, right, guys?
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but there's a game coming out that Bobby is very excited about. It's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh my god, never heard of it. What is this series? Is it new? I don't.
Yeah,
very
new.
new.
It's fairly new.
Yeah,
it's fairly new.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll look into it.
It's very indie, very indie.
Very indie.
Yeah, just as indie as Dave the Diver is.
Yeah. I don't know why that got me. That was good.
I'm glad. Good. Dave, off the top of your head, did you have any questions about the game, or are you just along for the ride? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm not on the hype train like most people are. I played through Remake, and I think I said it maybe a few weeks ago or something, roughly a month ago. So I was like, yeah, it was fine. I didn't connect with the story and the characters in most of the ways that other people did. Not to say that it's bad. Everyone has their own preferences. Everyone connects with different characters for different storylines. All good. It just wasn't there. It looked great. I think it played great. I think there are some good character moments and story beats. It just didn't come into a full package that I would put another, I don't know if you guys ever talked about this, another 30 to 40 to 50 hours into the franchise. Maybe, again, down the line, just like it took me a couple years to do Remake, maybe down the line I'll do Rebirth and I'll go from there. But
Maybe once they all come to Xbox, right?
once they're all on
Yeah.
Xbox and
Could be
Switch
a
in
while.
Yeah.
a
Switch
in a
3 by
director's
that
cut,
time. Switch
yeah,
3.
Could be a while. Could be a while.
Yep.
yeah.
But
So it's unfortunately for me it's hard for me to be like, yes, this is my game. It's just not. So
That's totally fair. I mean,
yeah.
by all means, anytime, please jump in with questions. I was telling Bobby I had some just coming in as like a novice Final Fantasy
Right.
VII fan.
Right.
Yeah, no, the other thing I was very curious about is like any new systems in terms of the gameplay. I'm coming in this like super like in the dark. I even resisted playing the demos.
Right.
The one that came out a couple weeks ago and the one that dropped today is the time we're recording. Because I'm like, at this point, I've waited so long. I might as well just wait a little longer. And with
Not
that,
much longer. Yeah.
I've also I think missed the last 2 trailers because again I'm just on kind of
Yeah.
media blackout. I have no interest in kind of spoiling this experience for myself. So in terms of the gameplay, I really don't know what to expect. What they have done to refine it, add to it. Talk to me here, Bobby. What have they kind of done to expand on what was already established in remake?
Yeah, there are a lot of new systems, and really, the best thing you could have done is avoid the last 3 or 4 trailers. So like there are a lot of things that kind of spoil that, so that's good. There are very simple things. So starting with just exploration, Cloud can now kind of parkour through like
Oh,
obstacles.
that's cool.
So yeah, so I mean, because the world's so big and like the terrain's varied, so like there are obviously cliffs and like there are rock faces, you have to climb up those. So Cloud could not climb those; he can jump down them. There is that obvious controversy where we saw the yellow paint.
Oh,
It's really not that big of a deal because like honestly, it is good for accessibility.
I love some yellow paint.
I
Hand
mean,
hold me through an entire game. I really don't care.
exactly.
The one thing that will turn me off of a game is me not knowing where to go.
Oh, that's
I'll
way
instantly get frustrated and give
way
up.
worse. Way worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like that's like a very small portion of it. Like, a lot of times like it kind of just makes sense to the world, so you kind of know where you're going.
Mhm.
The chocobos are fantastic. I know that they were probably, I believe they were in the first one, but not to the degree they are here. So like every region has their own chocobo. Some might climb the rock faces to get up to unreachable areas you can't get by walking or climbing. Others you can fly to get too high out of reach places. There are other ones that you can race. Everyone can race, so like they're obviously very fast. These birds, as you may have seen in the trailers, and every open area section has chocobo stops where you can kind of fast travel to. So you're obviously looking for these bus stops to unlock fast travel. And every section of the world has like a mini game for the chocobos to actually unlock fast travel. You have to hunt down the chocobo in that section and then kind of figure out how to capture it so that you can summon them at any time to get from A to B.
Okay.
And it's a lot of fun. Like honestly, the mini games are very varied in how you do them. So a lot of stealth sections. So you're trying to not be discovered, otherwise this bird runs away and you basically fail the mission. And then from there, it's basically you can use your chocobo to search out treasures. So like it'll pick up like a treasure scent that can unlock a bunch of different items. It can unlock upgrades for your transmuter, which is like an item crafting system where you can craft new items, new gear, and then upgrade your gear from that way. So there are a lot of small things that they've added in terms of mechanics like that. And then that's not even discussing what they've done with the battle system, which is probably what everyone's kind of curious about. I mean,
I'm
I know
definitely curious because I thoroughly enjoyed the battle system and I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun, even from the start when things were
Yeah.
simpler. I thought it was great.
it's a lot more streamlined, I want to say, because like
Okay.
there are systems they've put in place now where in previous games you kind of had to juggle all 3 characters. So from the top, it is basically the same system, but they've added a lot of more flourishes to it. So for one, the biggest change is the synergy attacks, which are the bread and butter of Rebirth. Like it is day and night difference between remake and Rebirth playing it.
Yep.
Synergy attacks are basically a good indicator of like how far your party has come in terms of closeness and like how friendly they are with each other. So like,
Ah,
as you grow friendly with your party and you start using these synergy moves, your relationship improves. So finding these moves, unlocking them is crucial to building your party because
Mm.
they are like a found family. So they all start coming together because they're in the situation. They've all kind of had to pick up the slack from where they've come and come together. So synergy attacks are just like flashy moves. I mean, it's just more or less just a way to deal out damage. Every synergy attack is based on their personality. So Cloud can unlock something called a spell blade, which he unlocks with Aerith, and Aerith and him team up for this move, and she'll throw spells at his sword, and they'll like inflame his sword, and he'll throw like a magic attack that hits everything and staggers pretty quickly. We've all seen the one with Aerith and Barrett where they kind of throw the glasses on. So like she'll do kind of the same thing. She'll throw a bullet. She'll like magicizes bullet. I'm gonna call it magicize. That's what I'm gonna call it.
I
Magicizes.
love that
Yeah.
that term. Yeah, that works.
She'll basically buff his bullets where they'll penetrate faster, build stagger quickly, and once you're staggered, it'll like deplete enemy health as fast as possible. So there are like little flourishes like that. Like every character combination has maybe 2 or 3 synergy attacks. So there are a lot of attacks to
that's cool.
find and discover, and the way you unlock these is through skill points. So it's not through the material as it was before or your weapons. Now you're obviously finding weapons. You have to use them to unlock. It's like an ability. Every weapon is an ability that you have to basically master, and as you master them, you get points that go into your folio, which is like basically your skill tree. So as you get to your folio, it looks like the grid sphere from Final Fantasy X. So if you guys aren't aware what that is, I would say look that up, and it's kind of the same thing. So you can kind of plan where you want to put your points, and it kind of just details. So like you might be able to unlock one synergy skill that allows like Red 13 and Cloud to basically do like a fire elemental attack that Red will spin around on Cloud's sword, and then just throw fire from it, or Tifa will jump on Cloud's sword and then she'll pummel some enemy with like a bunch of like whatever magic she's got equipped. So you could do like elemental ice, wind, lightning, and then basically it just you can pick and choose your skills. So if you want to like pick Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa, there are skills specifically made for those 3 party members. Or if you want to go Yuffie, Tifa, and Cloud, you can pick them. There are specific skills just for those 3 that you can use. And it's really just kind of fine tuning your party. So you have the ability to have 3 different, I guess, parties. So you have party 1, 2, and 3. So you can just basically pick on the fly who you want to be in your party. So you can have Cloud. Air. My basic starting party is Cloud, Aerith, Tifa. You press X, you can hit R1 and switch to Cloud, Tifa, and like Red on the fly. So like there's a lot of shifting, there's a lot of momentum changing, and as you're doing this, the other party members are actually in the battle, just supporting you from the back. So like if you've got Cloud, Red 13, and Aerith in your active party, Tifa and Barrett are in the back shooting and fighting other enemies that are on the outside of the field. So like everyone's involved in this game.
So they don't just like disappear and
Yeah, they
the
don't
game
disappear.
forgets them. Oh, that's so cool.
They don't have signs in the
Yeah,
background just cheering you
yeah.
on. Like,
Woo!
woohoo!
Yeah. So like it's a lot more immersive in that sense.
Yeah.
You see
Cool.
them there,
Okay.
they're actually doing something. So they're not just there for show. They're
Yeah.
actually causing damage.
Okay.
And then in worst case scenario, say you're like losing, you have one guy left, you can tap I believe it's X and then hit start, and then you do like an all-out attack from Persona, which kind of brings everyone in for a last ditch to see if you can survive or not.
Nice.
Oh, neat. Okay.
So there's a lot of flourishes like that, and I'm not even getting to a lot of some of the stuff. Like, I haven't even discussed like there's a lot of new limit breaks, the summons, which have been wildly improved. I mean, we can discuss that if you guys want. Like the summons are are not the same, like they kind of operate the same, but there are now things that have been added to the world that kind of actually make sense, and I'm surprised no one ever thought of. So I mean, let's start with that. Like there are, oh god, there's over a dozen summons. Like by end, I think I had about 11 or 12 of them. So you obviously can unlock them by doing the VR missions through Chadley, and it's the same situation like that. But in this case here, every region is home to a Titan, or sorry, a summon. So like the grasslands is home to Titan. You'll notice like glowing orbs that are kind of just like ancient ruins. They kind of look like they've been there for a long time. And if you smack it with your sword, kind of like the live stream comes out of the block, and basically you have to follow it. And as you follow it, you'll enter it's called like a summon trial. So basically you go to the summon trial and you have to do like a button command. And as you enter it correctly, you unlock the ability to weaken the summon. Because if you fight it at full strength, you're probably not going to beat it. So they've added this way to dial down the strength of the summons to earn them. Because once you earn them, you basically get 1 to 4 stars. So if you get level 4 stars, you beat them at, again, it's like 60% of their strength. So they're obviously a lot weaker when you're fighting them. But once you unlock them, they're back to full strength, and they have a bunch of like stat bonuses because you unlock these Titan summons. So it's a great system that kind of builds on the existing summon system, and it just adds something a little bit more. So you're getting benefits to having.
You got
to
take your time with it, then, right? You don't just jump. Like the whole point of it is like there's a whole other time system that goes into it, and investment, and then when you get it, I assume it feels more rewarding because of that.
It's a lot more rewarding because you're not just like in the previous game you would just find the summons in the world, so you would just find like a materia orb on the floor. Here you'll have a couple at the beginning of the game, and then obviously you get a couple that carry over if you've played the previous games, but the new ones that are in the game, you can only unlock them if you fight them. And fighting them at full strength, I don't recommend it because they will body you very quickly. And
sounds like you tried. Sounds like you tried.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried. I tried many times to fight. Like Titan himself, like he destroyed me the first 3 or 4 times I tried. So I was like, well, I'll come back to it. So I came back to it about 10 hours later because every section of the world is about 10 to 15 hours of exploration, easily.
Wow.
And yeah, there's a lot to explore. There's just a lot to do and see. So like the first time I did that, I followed all the summon trials. Like I did all 3, and then I went back to Chadley. I was like, well, let's try him again. And then it just kind of explained like level 4, he's very weak, but he's still a challenge, but you could probably fight him and win this time. So it pays off to explore the world because it all ties into the system. So everything, like I said, everything you've done, everything you will do, is not there just to be there. It has a purpose. So, like I said, these stones, they're there to just make your life easier when you decide to summon. And yeah, I mean, honestly, that is probably the biggest change to the summons I've seen in a long time. Because I mean, FF16, like it was very, very limited. You can summon. I mean, it's nice to see just a kind of more traditional system where every so often you'll start seeing the summon gauge come up, and like you can just bring them on for support, and they actually just support you, not like in FF16 where they're nukes and they're very limited in use. Like that was kind of my big I don't want to say disappointment, but I mean it was just a big drawback for me that you couldn't use summons in a Final Fantasy game as in a traditional way.
Yeah, it was very different for sure. You kind of touched on it, but the length of the game, how are we looking? What how long did it take you to roll credits, and are there estimates on golden path in the game, correct, versus if you do everything in the game? Like what's your content split here?
So I rolled credits at about 80 hours.
Wow.
I have a lot left to do. So, I mean, rough estimates, I could say 120 hours to get everything.
Okay.
And that's maybe 2 playthroughs because I'm including hard mode because you have to obviously play the game again in hard mode.
Right.
But, I mean, for what you're getting, there's a lot of content. It's surprising, given the fact that, Remake was just very rigid in its structure and kind of where it went and what it did. So that was like a 45, 50-hour game. This is easily double that, but it's quality length. It's a quality length that you're getting a lot of content for that. You're bang for your buck, basically.
It's not filler just to make it that 80, 90
There's
hours.
very little filler. I mean, people might complain
great.
about pacing issues, but like I honestly didn't have pacing issues because the thing with this game is it's an open world. If I don't want to do something, I can just go back to the story. It's
Right,
not like
right.
I'm cornered into doing one thing I don't want to do. But that kind of brings me to the next thing. The biggest reason I took so long is Queen's Blood, which is like the new card game, and it is honestly the most
Ooh.
addicting game I've played in the game in years. Like I was a triple triad buff. Like I love triple triad. Queen's Blood is amazing. Like honestly, I really want this to be a standalone game that we could just play on our phones, because Queen Blood as a card game is just really strategic. It's simple, it's fun, and like that's kind of like how surprised I am, because I normally don't like playing card games. I don't like Gwent. I thought it was just a waste of time.
Really? I was going to ask you about how it stacked against Gwent, because I was huge into Gwent in
I
Witcher
tried.
3.
I tried for so long to get
Loved
into
it.
Gwent. It never clicked with me the way I know some people did. I mean, obviously we got an actual Gwent game,
Yeah.
but compared to Gwent, I love Queen's Blood. It is such a fun little mini game that you can just spend hours playing, and that's what I've been doing. Because
That's cool.
yeah, like honestly, every town's got like 4 or 5 people you have to play in Queen's Blood, and they're not just one character. No, like they're actually some of them are really funny. These characters, some of them are pros. Some of them are just they're playing this game for a reason, and it's just it's different from what I've come to expect from like throwaway mini games, because a lot of them are just throwaways, and this one just feels like it's got some longevity to it. The basic is like there are some missions like in the first town, like you actually unlock your first Queen's Blood deck by completing a mission for the local bartender.
Okay.
And that mission alone it's very heartwarming, because it's a Tifa mission. I obviously don't want to spoil it because I want people to experience it, but it ends on such a like a beautiful note. Like it's just like a really great little nod to Tifa's past as the bartender at Seventh Heaven. You get this Queen's Blood deck, and then you're off to the races in Calm, which is the first city. And basically, from that moment, you either love Queen's Blood or you hate it, because there is no in between. It really seems like a difficult game, but 4 or 5 missions in, and like you're invested in Queen's Blood. I really have like this love for this game. Like I can't stop thinking about Queen's Blood. That's probably the one takeaway from this game is the ending and Queen's Blood. I want more Queen's Blood.
Yeah. Question about performance and the visuals. I know we talked about, how from an art perspective, it's so beaming off the screen, how it's the antithesis in some way to remake. But I know I saw a couple clips of like the demo, and people were arguing, well, is performance going to be the way to go, or is quality? Because there was some like flickering assets in the background. Like, what's your experience like? What have you been playing on?
So from the top, let's start with this. I've had no glitches. There's nothing
Okay.
like that, so that's a good thing. I've had flickering, which is not the biggest deal breaker for me. Like flickering
Yeah.
is probably the least worrying thing about it. I played in performance mode just because I am a FPS snob. I
Sure.
have an OLED TV thanks to you, because like I
What?
just heard
Wait,
your recommendations
where's
for it, and
mine,
like I was
Steve?
like,
Where's my? I want a TV. Where's?
I just told him to buy
I'm
it. That's
just
all.
yeah,
I can tell you to buy it too. Yeah.
yeah, no, Dave, go buy an OLED TV and then
Yeah,
come
go
back
buy
and-
an OLED, you dummy. See, I did my part now.
I do.
Yeah.
It's in the living room upstairs, and that's not where I have any of my consoles hooked up.
Well, that's on you
Whose
then.
fault
Because
is that?
Yeah.
I put mine in the office because I knew I
Yeah.
needed it for work.
Well, I got
See?
lessons to learn.
See,
learn.
Bobby's doing big brain time.
You know, I put my foot down on that one. I said, nope, we're getting the more expensive TV upstairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, going back to the game, like there is a patch. I think it came out today before the second demo launched for everybody. But up until then, like there are quite a few issues with the visuals. So like there are a couple of images I saw in people's demos that just the game looks really bad, and I do feel it is pretty bad. My biggest issue was the image is very soft and very blurry, and there is popping, which I'm kind of surprised by, given the fact that FF7 Intergrade was really fine tuned for the PS5, but I also understand that it was like a small sliver of what this game is.
Yeah, right.
Quality mode, I couldn't do it. I spent about 15-20 minutes trying to play it, and it just hurt my eyes. Like, that's just, I don't know if it's Unreal Engine, or if it's just the fact that I've grown accustomed to 60 frames, but it was just really hard to stick with it. So I went back to the 1080p 60 frames, which was very solid in the FPS, but the quality of the image was so soft, and it just did not really mesh well with what I've come to expect. But here's the kicker. Here's what kind of throws me off is that it's only the open world sections that kind of have this issue.
Okay.
Getting to story sections or cutscenes, like, you can tell just how much work went into this game. Like, that is probably what sets this game apart from Remake. That game just kind of was across the board. It was just kind of murky. Everything kind of looked okay. It wasn't until the PS5 version that kind of came together. This game here has 60% of greatness, so like, it looks great 60% of the time. The other 40% where you're in the open world, it looks okay, but obviously it could look a lot better. So I don't know if this patch has done a lot. I'm gonna go back probably tonight to see how different it looks and feels post patch. But I mean, if you don't have an OLED, I don't think you're gonna notice it as much, because I spoke to a couple reviewers that also have the game, and they said that they just played on a regular LED, and like, it felt fine to them. So it probably could just be, whatever TV you have.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm wondering, because the main issue I had with the visuals with Remake was the screen door effect. And what I mean by that, for people who might not have played a Remake or maybe have forgotten, everything in that game looked beautiful when you just took it in as the full scope. When you just looked at the plain canvas, it looked gorgeous. But the moment that you looked at an individual rock, or you went up to like a house or something, and you tried to like focus in on an individual asset,
right.
it looked like something from like the 360 era. Like, it was just like, I don't really understand. Like, it was magic what they were able to accomplish, but it was just like this weird like disconnect between like individual assets versus a full component. I'm wondering, like, have they improved on that? Like, if you were to hone in on, say, I don't know, a wheelbarrow or something, like, how does it look?
So overall, it's better than Remake in that regard,
Yeah.
but there are sections where there are noticeable, I guess they call it texture streaming. So there's low quality texture streaming happening in certain sections. So I'll give you a perfect example. I was at Costa del Sol, which is like the seaside beach resort town, and you're able to swap your costumes there. You get to the stall, and everything looks incredible. It looks like a game from this generation, but then you get to the stall, and the cover for the door, where you know how you open the door and close it, and it's like a curtain.
Yep.
The curtain is so low quality, it's just a blurry mess, and I just don't
Mm.
understand how they let these things go.
Hmm.
Or you could be exploring the outskirts of Junon, and the front rock faces look really good, but the second you kind of go around to the back and turn the camera, it's just low quality resolution, and I just don't understand how this is still an issue for
That's fair.
Square Enix. It really kind of throws you off out of the immersion, and that's kind of what I don't understand and why it's still happening.
Hmm.
I can only assume that it's the fact that it's a new engine for them. Like, Unreal Engine obviously is like the go-to engine for a lot of video games, but it's a new engine for Square Enix. They've only started using it with, I believe, Remake. So I mean, even still, I know it's been about 6 or 7 years, but it just doesn't seem like something they've been able to master. And the other side of that is this really something that maybe the hardware is bottlenecking now? Like, are we in need of a refresh?
Right.
And it comes down to that. It's like, I don't really know the answer. I've poked Square about it just to kind of get an answer, but they haven't really gone back to me about it, and I don't think they will, just because, I mean, that's probably a development secret. So take it with a grain of salt. I think it's just a mix of both. I think it's the system and the lack of expertise with Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a developer at all, but when you present a physical game on multiple discs, I'm like, yeah, I can tell that's a big game, so
Mhm.
I'm assuming that it's going to be, very intensive in terms of what it needs in terms of performance. So, yeah, maybe a day one patch or a pre-release patch will mitigate that, or maybe there's something on the roadmap up ahead in the coming weeks, or if
Or
we
maybe
do get
not.
a,
Or not,
or maybe
yeah.
if they do have that PS5 Pro on the way, maybe Square's like, okay, that's our shot to kind of address some of these visual problems. But
It happened with remake
yep,
moving from PS4 to PS5. So
oh,
the
big
intergrade
time.
was obviously patched. Like it looked incredible.
Yep.
Also, I mean, remake was a fraction the size of Rebirth. So
Mhm.
Rebirth is like 150 gigs. I was always like, well, why is it so big? Why am I installing this massive game on my hard drive? Playing it and seeing what they put in this game, because there's so much content in this game, I'm like, well, okay, I can understand it. There is just so much to do. There's so much to see, and like it blows me away that they were able to just put all the amount of content into this game for what it is.
Into just
Right.
150. Yeah.
It's only 150. I mean, that's
Only.
one Call of Duty. That's one Call of Duty for me. Like
Yeah.
that's a bane of my existence. That game,
Yeah.
I hate having it installed on my console. Like I hate it, but like it's something I play basically every day still.
Well, 150 is a lot, but based on what you're saying, and I know I only came halfway through the conversation, but based on what you're saying, 150 is still pretty impressive. Like that's still a feat
Sure.
in itself, right? So
For what you're
what
getting,
you
like
get, yeah, right.
don't get me wrong, like I took over 350 screenshots on my uh PlayStation.
So another 150 gigs, yeah.
Exactly.
Easy.
He's maxed out.
But I took so many screenshots because like everything that I was screenshotting was just so stunning and
right.
an indicator of how far Square has come as developer, because their moments of greatness outshine their moments of weakness in this game. Like they're just more they do well than things they do bad. And the things they do bad is fixable. It's just technical stuff. They could really just figure that out, iron out in the next 6 to 8 months over the year. That's fine with me. The actual content and the game itself is a masterpiece to me. I really think that this is Square firing on all cylinders. They've put their money where their mouth is. They've invested in this game. And I really truly believe that when this game launches next week, it's going to break records.
Yeah,
Because of the
I
anticipation.
I was going to say, I think the anticipation is very high. It's already like Square has a proven track record now, not only with remake but with 16 as well. That was a huge boost for them as well, just in terms of like garnering goodwill and a fan base to stick with them. So coming into Rebirth, I think it's going to be quite the launch. Quickly, I just wanted to know, was there anything else you wanted to touch on? Because I have one final question for you, and then we can start to move on. But yeah, I want to make sure you get everything out of your system.
I could talk about this game for hours, so that's the problem. So
Right.
there are still a couple things we can
Good
discuss.
problem to have. Good problem to
Yeah,
have,
It is a
really.
good problem to have
Yeah.
because like it's been really hard not being able to talk to a lot of people about this game
Right.
outside of like you two. But I mean, if you like the music in remake, which was already a standout for what it
Huge.
was,
Really good. Yeah, really good.
yeah.
this is more of that but better. And
Nice.
there are over 400 tracks in this game, and you're always like, how is that possible? Like,
Yeah,
what have they possibly done to make that feasible? Once you get to Calm, the opening town, there's a specific version of On Our Way, which is like kind of like an open world theme from the original game. It
Okay.
is so it put my body in such an relaxed state that like I just literally sat there for 8 minutes just listening to the song, just like taking it in, feeling the nostalgia come over me. The soundtrack to this game is out of this world. Like I don't think there's been any Final Fantasy game up to this point that is as iconic as Final Fantasy VII's soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there ever will be. And just the work that they've been able to do with the remake and take the existing soundtrack and blow it into this huge performative piece where every song has 8 to 10 different variations and 8 to 10 different styles. So like you're hearing different versions of the same song, which is okay, whatever, that's fine. But hearing it in either like a jazzy version or like a rock version, or you hear like a rap version, like there are just some great creative minds at Square Enix.
That's very cool.
It is so cool. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for now. Is as we get closer to the launch, I want the soundtrack because there's a handful of songs that I just can't get out of my head right now, and I'm just eager to hear more of the soundtrack and see like how they were able to pull, like I said, from the songs from remake and the original into Rebirth, and how they've fleshed them out and expanded upon them. So if you're looking for anything to take away from this review, if you don't want to play the game, listen to the soundtrack.
Great.
You'll thank me for that. Like, it is a standout soundtrack for any game. Any game I've ever played in my life, this is the soundtrack you will want to listen to.
Nice. All right. Well, that's me. So at least for
Yeah,
now,
so
we'll see when I play it or if I play it. But
Yeah,
for
you'll
now,
have 400 tracks to listen to before you buy the game.
man. What do you think I was doing
That-
before I came on? That's what I was doing.
Yeah, so I saw Distant Worlds in Toronto a couple years ago, and that was based on Final Fantasy Remake. So Square, if you're doing another version of Distant Worlds in Toronto, just
Please
let me know.
Yeah.
I will be there. I will be there with bells on and
Yeah,
my Buster Sword.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be busting. You'll be busting.
I'll be busting all
busting
over
with the
that when it
bells.
comes to
Yeah.
No, that concert that they did when they went through like all the different generations and games, I think it was like last year or the year before I went to. Very cool
Yeah.
stuff for someone who has very little touchstones for the series. I was like, this rips. I appreciate all the music here.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one thing the series does well, it's their
music.
scores.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And to round off, I guess there's a couple things I kind of want to bring up.
Sure.
If you've played the original, anyone listening, I'm sure you're curious about the Gold Saucer.
Totally.
The Gold Saucer is obviously like the I don't want to say it's not so it's Mount Coral's version of Las Vegas. So it's like obviously a very bougie resort you go to that's in the desert, and it's where all the mini games happen. The very iconic mini games like the G bike. You can do the boxing game. There's a haunted hotel.
I remember the boxing game. I remember that.
All of that in 2024. Oh my god, it is probably the coolest thing that I experienced within. I don't know. It's like I would consider it side content for what you're doing, because obviously the story takes you there, but you don't have to do any of that. You can kind of just breeze through it. But like spending the time going through Gold Saucer, going to the chocobo races, going to do the G bike, it's all fully realized in today's graphics, and it is so freaking cool. Steve, there's a haunted hotel there you will lose your mind in, because it is the coolest hotel that I've ever seen in any video game. It kind of reminds me of what we just mentioned.
Oh my god, yes.
Where it's like when you go ring the bell at the front door, you would expect someone to come up from the back, but nope. And this guy here, he drops from the ceiling and he's mummified and he talks to you about your room.
I'm in.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like, it is a great segment. This is where all like a lot of the I think shipping wars are going to happen. You're going to hear about it in a couple of weeks. There's going to be a lot of shipping wars between Cloud and Tifa, Cloud and Aerith, Cloud and Barrett, Cloud and Red 13, because you can go on dates with all of them at the Gold Saucer. And it depends on your relationship status. So if you have a higher relationship status with Barrett, you can actually go on a date with him. Or if you want to go out with Tifa, you can go on a date with Tifa. And yeah, it is a very interesting portion of the game. Think it's more of the Honeybee Inn on steroids.
Okay, that's what it was reminding me of, just based on the way you're describing it. It was like, okay,
it is the Honeybee Inn on steroids, and that's
cool.
probably my favorite side part of Remake.
Same.
So if you like that, you're gonna love this, because I spent a good 15 hours there, even though I didn't have to.
Awesome.
And yeah, honestly, everything about this game is just out of this world. Like, if Sephiroth had to summon Meteor today, I would tell him no, don't do it, because we are about to play a remake and Rebirth.
I'm sure he'd listen. I'm sure he'd be like, "Oh, I get it. Okay."
He would say okay.
rounding out the discussion here before we start moving on, I'm very eager because again, just full circle here. Limited experience with the franchise. I know Dave's here with me as well, but I want to know, what about people who may not have even played Remake? I know that Square was talking about, oh, you can jump in with like limited to no knowledge about Remake, and I was like, I don't understand how that's possible, but I want to know straight from the horse's mouth here. Do you see this being like a standalone in any way?
Yes, I think it could be a standalone game
Really? Okay,
because
interesting.
so there was a really good recap that was released maybe several months ago.
Yep.
It is told from the perspective of Red 13, so obviously he's a very important character to the game. He kind of recaps the whole sequence of events from the start of Remake up until the end of Remake. It's about 4 or 5 minutes. It goes through every story beat with a lot of detail. I mean, if you don't want to play the game, this is probably the video you want to watch.
Yeah.
It's available on YouTube, but you can also access it from the main menu, and it will summarize everything with all the detail you would want to start the game. So if you're asking me, yes, I think it is a standalone game in that respect because it really is all you need. That's all you need is that 5 minutes to get caught
Yeah.
up.
Interesting. No, that's good to know because I basically, yeah, I had hopes that I could go through the entire base remake into Intergrade right before Rebirth. Obviously, time never works on my side, so I did not get around to replaying the base game. But I still am interested. I was thinking either tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to go through, spend a couple nights, just go through the Yuffie DLC, get myself reacquainted with the game. I think that's a must. But yeah, I was interested in finding some sort of recap because I remember, I would say probably 80% of that game, of the base game of Remake, but I definitely wanted to watch some sort of recap just to kind of, get the juices flowing, get myself reacquainted before I jump into the Yuffie DLC. But that's good to know that there's the Red 13 one. I didn't even know that they put that out, so that's cool.
It is a really good
Okay.
recap. So basically, if I had to say anything, skip Remake if you have to. Play Intergrade because it's very short. It's about 10 hours.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yep.
It does flesh out Yuffie's character and Sonon, which is someone from her village. He's a great character. He is worth it just to play himself, and it kind of introduces you to the synergy system because it's a very basic version of that system.
Yep.
Well worth playing. So if you can get your hands on it, play that, and then jump into Remake or Rebirth. Sorry.
Amazing. Yeah. That was a very extensive, very, very good discussion about Final Fantasy Rebirth. I'm looking forward to it. Highly anticipated game for me. But yeah, well, I guess we'll have more in the coming weeks.
Right. Yeah.
From me as well. I know we have a bunch of content planned, but once I start getting into it, I'll definitely be talking about it on the show. As a man of the people playing it amongst, everyone else out there, all the audience members, it will be fun to go through it together with y'all. Dave, I want to get to you. I want to get you talking. Have you been playing any games recently? What have you been up to?
Well, I got myself into Helldivers. That happened.
Yes,
He's only 2 weeks late. Only 2 weeks late. Well,
I think it was.
We were saving democracy, and you were hiding your hole.
And I was not. I was in the country that you are saving. Well, not country, but I was in the U.S. while you guys were playing Helldivers, and I couldn't get to my console. I was like, I gotta get home.
It's a shame because democracy needed you.
Well,
it really did.
Yeah, I'm at level 9 or 10 now, so I've put some time into it. It's been I think I tried to play last Friday with a friend. It took me about 20 minutes to get in, right when all the sort of server stuff started. Like last weekend was kind of messy in that. You know what? I'm not gonna get upset about it. They have had a successful game. They're working their butts off to make it happen. Hopefully they're not stressing too much about it, and hopefully people will just deal with it, because if it's a fun game, You should just wait, and you can play it when it works, and that's it, right?
I think that's the best thing, is that not only does it seem that the studio is working through it in a very healthy and sustainable way, but it seems like the player base just does not care that they have to either wait like in extensive like server queues, or they're like, I'll either wait here or I'll come back. Like
Yeah.
that's how good the game is that people are gonna come back.
I hope that the people coming back is what happens, because there are look, I don't know how many people this is, but when you look at, posts on Steam or other, forums and similar to Reddit, whatever you want to look at, there's always a couple comments say, "Oh, I bought the game and I haven't played because and it's been a day or it's been 2 days." Look, that sucks. I get it, right? Like, you want to play this game, you're excited or whatever, right? Like last Friday was the second day I had the game.
Mhm.
Would have been like my 3rd hour playing it, or 4th hour playing. I wanted to play. I just got my second weapon. I just hope that doesn't deter people. I hope people don't return it because they only played for half an hour. I hope people that did buy it stay with it, because I think this is one of those games that, as long as that player base is there, which I think is what we talked about when we were talking about games we're looking forward to for this year, is that as long as that game, the game is healthy enough with enough people playing it, which as of right now, more than enough people are, then the content will follow, and the quality of that content will follow as well. So
yeah,
that's what I hope it is. But it's a goofy blast, man. That's pretty much all it is. I don't know if it's the humor in it, or if it's the type of gameplay, what you're fighting, like what you're shooting down, bugs and robots. Like, it's probably a combination of everything. It's just like, if you die or you fail a mission, okay, on to the next one. I don't feel tilted. I don't feel upset. I'm not angry if I'm playing with random people and we're not communicating as well as you would if you're playing with 3 other friends. It's okay. It happens. I didn't quite get all the XP or the samples that I wanted to.
right.
It stinks, but I'll play another one because they're fun, because it's a good time. So yeah, I've really had a good time with Helldivers 2. I accidentally realized that you can also shoot in first person the other day.
Oh, nice.
I had no idea.
Discovered that, yeah.
I discovered it. I was like, oh, okay.
It's actually my preferred way.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially against the robots, because they have like very specific like
that I can
targets.
See. Yeah. And certain weapons obviously would be better to do it with, it seems.
For sure.
But it's fun. I've had a really good time with it. I'm not bought into the sort of battle pass or whatever they're calling it just yet, but I can see that there's some interesting stuff that you can unlock, cosmetics and things like that. And the progression so far, with or without buying into the extra content, feels fair to me. I do like that. I don't know who did this first. Maybe it was Fortnite. I don't know. But the whole, use your in-game currency and purchase whichever you want on that page, with the currency that you buy. Buy 5 of this, or go to page 3, and so far you can unlock the other one, and sort of picking and choosing. It's not literally just across a line. I like that. I kind of felt like getting this helmet before I got that cape. Cool. It's a small thing, but stuff like that I think is kind of fun. Gives you a little bit of a sense of choice, even though at some point you have to unlock anything anyways, or everything anyways.
It's funny because in a era where every game is trying to nickel and dime you, take all of your time, own your life, own your children, because that's how live service games are. This is the most like non-predatory live service game I think I've ever played.
There's nothing about it at all.
Yeah, where it actively feels like, while they do have like the battle pass to buy into it up front, afterwards there's like it almost feels like the game is working with you to be like, don't spend any money here. Like, you really don't have to, like, just play the game. You don't have to, even to get like cosmetics in the superstore and everything.
Yeah,
I just bought like a full like suit of armor just by playing the game and finding super credits in
the blue credit thing, right?
Yeah, by finding them like in the game. And
I
like,
bought a
never
helmet from that or something too. Yeah.
No, if I want to play as, like, I don't John McClane in Call of Duty, it's like, oh, hand me $25, bitch. And I was like, okay, chill, Activision. Here it's like, no, you can just not pay any more money. I was like, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
by this monetary system that they have.
yeah, and I mean, it seems like they don't really quote unquote need it at the moment as far as like how
Right.
many sales they've had so far, which is great. And I think what plays into that is the map itself, how it says it's real time. I don't know how real time the percentage of your progress is around across the world and stuff.
It's real time.
Yeah, but that plays into the not needing it to be predatory, because really they want you to progress on each planet to topple the enemies regardless of which ones they are, because when you go in and you see, oh, it's 98.75831%.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to contribute to that. You don't need a particular strong ass weapon to do that. You just need 3 other people or 2 other people to go in, make a difference, and get out. And that's great. That's great.
So, some of the coolest clips I've seen I've seen it twice now, where people on Reddit have uploaded their clips of being the final contributing mission.
I did that once. I did it once.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's a cool feeling.
It was cool because I jumped into a random game and I didn't even see which mission we picked. It was, I think they put out like the SOS thing and I dropped, but it was at the beginning of the mission. It was very early. I think they may have done one side mission thing, the other 3 people. And then at the end, there was 2 people that were on comm, so I kind of overheard them. I was just chilling on my own, so I wasn't talking to them. But at the end, they were like, oh, "Whoa, we did it! We were the 100%! Yeah!" These 2 guys are like,
so cool.
And I like put my mic on. I'm like, "Yeah, that was awesome!" Woo, woo! And then I logged out. No, I just but it was like, do you get some bonus for being that? No, but it's cool that out of the 5 planets that are, being attacked at that moment, we were, or us, and likely another couple of squads, in the North American servers, toppled to that 100%. And I think that's really fun. And that's a really cool way of doing it. I don't know if any other games have done it, but I thoroughly enjoy, logging in 24 hours later or 48 hours later and go, oh, that planet's done. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one.
Well, it's that twist on everything that a normal live service game is doing, where every like Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, they all want you to log in to progress your character, your account, unlock this specific cosmetic, this and that. I love the fact that it's all community driven in Helldivers 2, where just as your point is like, if we as a community hit this target, everyone gets like 10,000 credits or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
everyone
like
benefits.
XP.
Yeah.
Everyone benefits. So it's like, so for instance, I haven't played since Saturday.
Okay.
Only because it's been, things have been busy, and then also I've known that like, the servers have been down and everything. So it's like I'm not even going to bother like waiting in queues and everything. I'll come back. We'll link up with friends and everything. We've all played together at some various points. But that being said, it's like, I just know that in the background, I'm not feeling the pressure of hitting this week's target. I know that the community is doing it for me.
The team's going to get it done, man. The team's going to get it done. And that team is...
We're all there.
Yeah, that team is tens of thousands of other people or however many.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I think that also... And I think the lack of PvP might be not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it is fantastic. And I think that, again, adds to everything we've just been saying about this necessary content or wanting to show off to other people with your cosmetics or being tilted because something happened or didn't happen. Like, it's team-based in pretty much every aspect of the game. Unless it's your personal currency for your, passive upgrades and stuff like that. And that's cool to have too. So I think it's great. I think people should be checking it out if they haven't already, and definitely consider it for sure. I've been playing on PC. I've had no issues as far as in-game stuff goes. Any issue I've had was based on the server stuff that they've been running into. And again, like I said, and like you just said, I'll patiently wait if I have to. I sat in a couple server queues over the last week. Some of them took 5 minutes. Some of them took 20 minutes. Like I said, once I did get in, it was totally fine. So yeah, I've had like no slowdown, no glitches, none of that stuff. So it's a smoothly running game. And I hope this, like it's been said, I think over the last couple of weeks since it came out, I hope this just is a sign that Sony should be like, look, this is what we should be doing, because if it is especially an online game like this is how these games survive. At least so far, it seems this is how they really thrive and everything. So I hope that continues, and I hope that's something that them and others take note of, but especially Sony, because they haven't really done anything like that. I think until now, or it's been a long time since they've done anything significant like that. So
no, for sure.
yeah.
I think this is lightning in a bottle for sure. I mean, kudos to Arrowhead for just nailing this, because I mean, yeah, this game has been long in the works, like 8 years in development. And yeah, I couldn't be more happy for the studio, who seemingly wants to succeed and deliver something really fun, sticks to their kind of vision of the game, because like we talked about, like the PvP thing, they already said no, we're not doing it just because it's not within their vision. I would have I could see the argument of there being like a cool, compelling PvP mode in there, but hearing the director be like, no, we just don't want it to be toxic, I do understand, like any kind of competitive nature in this game, I feel like is
against
just goes against exactly.
Yeah.
It's all supposed to be lighthearted.
It's not
supposed
democracy.
To be fun, communicate.
Okay?
Exactly.
It's not democracy.
So yeah, no, I feel like, yeah, this is a very sustainable game, as long as they can keep first get the game at a stable playing ground for everyone who wants to jump in, and then start working at, okay, what's next? What's the cadence of releasing substantial content in this game, new planets, new enemy types. I know that they have mechs on the way, so lots of cool things to look forward to.
That map is pretty big. There's lots of areas that can go, so that's exciting too, because it even almost shows you that this map is just going to be filled out, and it might take some time. But that's great.
And it's not only that, but like they can easily just bring it back and be like, oh, now go back to this old planet because now it's overrun by something else and everything. So like
the robots and bugs are working together. Like,
oh, dude, could you imagine that? Like,
oh, you would never survive.
Like a triple threat thing. Like everyone's just working. Oh my god.
Or they're fighting each other and you're stuck in the middle.
Saying,
you have to survive. Yeah. So. I will say though, there's a couple, like the robot missions, I think, as fun as they are, and as much as it feels like you're fighting off Terminators a lot of the time, which is kind of fun. Some of them feel unfair, but I think that's balance, and that's things that they can fit or fix. There's a couple where I'm just like, there's no way that I can beat this.
Are you talking about the escort mission?
There is that one in particular that I think a lot of people have had issue with. I think they might have patched it now.
I don't know.
Working on it, but
they discovered what it was. Do you know what it was?
No,
'cause I think it's just like a fascinating thing.
No, I don't.
So when you queue up to it, right? Essentially, for people that don't know, you're supposed to drop in. You're at this base, and you're supposed to escort civilians from like one base into like this main.
They
hub,
run from one door to another, essentially.
Exactly.
And there's
while there's like robots dropping in and trying to kill
shoot
them.
And it's a much smaller area than the other missions where you're doing multiple things. You have one task in a small area, and a bunch of enemies are dropping, trying to kill you and stop the civilians, I guess, the hostages.
So the issue is that any time that anyone dropped in, regardless of difficulty, it was hard as shit. Yeah. And the reason is because they would just keep throwing enemies and enemies and enemies, and you couldn't even like catch your breath. Like it was just death after death. People discovered that when you queue up to drop into that mission, it gives you a timer of 40 minutes. Okay. When you actually drop in and start the mission, you only have 15 to complete it. So what people are assuming is that what it's doing is just like funneling 40 minutes worth of enemies in a 15-minute window, which I mean, obviously needs to be fixed, obviously needs to be balanced and addressed. But I think that is so hilarious. It's like we're playing it and just a mass amount of enemies are just hitting you, and it's
nonstop.
This is what it's supposed to be like, spread out 3 times.
Yeah,
like it's supposed to be a nice cadence and everything. No, it's just obliterating you with enemies. And I thought that was just hilarious when I read that.
That is funny, because I don't know if this is actually true. This is just sort of what I suspected, but missions like that where there's a timer and you have to get something done in a certain amount of time, I think if you stay longer, more enemies will come, or certain areas on larger maps. If you just kind of like, pick your nose and just don't really get anything done, they're going to drop more enemies on you so that you're not just standing in an open field kind of thing.
Right.
I thought maybe that was miscalculated or something, and they were just like, oh, nothing's happening. But regardless, that's great. That's great. Yeah. You know what? Again, it's just people have like tens of thousands of people have constantly failed on that mission because it's pretty much impossible. But am I like upset at the game and never going to play it because I failed that mission like 6 times? No, I'm going to move on to the next one because I'm having a good time, and it's encouraging you to have a fun, goofy time too. So, anyways, Helldivers 2 has been really fun, and server issues or not, I'm going to keep trying to jump back in. So,
cool.
Yeah,
rounding down with this episode, I have a couple games that I wanted to touch on. The first, Skull and Bones.
Ooh.
Hard to believe this game is out.
I was going to say, this game is the Madam Web of video games because I don't believe either of these actually exist.
Right. Well, fun fact, I have played and seen Skull and Bones and Madam Web. So I am just, okay. I'm in it right now, Dave. I am in it.
Unreal.
Skull and Bones is, in the most polite way possible, a game that felt like it should have come out 11 years ago.
Jeez.
And I mean that both in a good way and a bad way. It feels very much like it's in a bubble of its own. I mean, obviously Ubisoft greenlit this, wanted to get this out right off the success and everything off Black Flag for good reason too. I mean, Black Flag still, to me, rose-tinted glasses or not, one of the best Assassin's Creed games, simply because of its setting, its ship combat, everything about it really, really did resonate with me. And then, through some sort of development hell, Skull and Bones just could not figure out this game. And here we are, 2024, and it came out. And I have such mixed and juxtaposed opinions on this game because there's something here. There's a good idea within this game. Like when you break down so many of its components and its gameplay systems, there's something here where I'm like, oh, this is at least interesting to play. I wouldn't say like it borderline's fun. And I think that the strongest thing is the most important thing in this game, which is the ship combat. I think that bar none, Ubisoft knew what it needed to fix from Black Flag and did so. I think streamlining ship combat, making it almost like an RPG where you're, building your own ship, upgrading your ship, adding different weapons on the ports and the bows. I don't know the right terminology of the sides and everything. Whatever.
No idea. I have no clue.
No idea. But there's something there where it's like, oh, you're customizing your ship. You're making your ship your own.
Sounds fun too. Just the sound of it is like, oh, that's interesting to me. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's kind of like a more elevated version of Sea of Thieves where, you have a sense of ownership over your ship. You're doing all this stuff. And that's fun as hell when you're on the water sailing and you come up against, one or several ships and you're fighting them. It's fun. Like it's kinetic. It's fun. It works. Whether you're ramming a ship, whether you're timing your cannons, whether you're, you got your ship or your cannons on one side and then you have like fire cannons on the other, you can upgrade them all. And it really does work. And then the game falls apart completely with everything else. And I don't mean that hyperbolically. I don't mean that as an exaggeration. I'm not even doing this in like a mean, like trying to be rude or anything. I just feel like they had the one idea where they're like, we're going to take Black Flag, make it its own game. Shit, what do we do now? Because that's not a game. That's just ship combat.
It's a mode.
The sim, exactly. So essentially what they did to flesh it out is not only you have the ship combat, you have, upgrading, building your ship. The game is essentially just like fetch quests or cargo management. The game where you have this vast open map broken into like 3 sections. You can go to like different pirate outposts, talk to an NPC who has no personality, no intrigue to them. There's no story in the game. There's a very loose story that I throw on a podcast and kind of just ignore. But essentially every NPC will just be like, hey, here's a contract you can pick up. Go destroy some ships or go find these items or go do a thing and then come back to me. And that's essentially all you're doing is you're amassing all these contracts, going out to the sea, doing that, rinse and repeat, trying to become the pirate master, like getting your infamy level up, or your notoriety, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a cumbersome kind of system, or a cumbersome excuse to get to the fun, which is, hey, I'm on a boat, or I am the boat, and I'm shooting other boats.
I am boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially like what Ubisoft kind of went back and forth with, which was, hey, you're going to be entirely the boat the entire time. There's no pirate character. You're not doing any of that
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then people were like, no, I want to be a pirate. And they're like, shit, we got to make a pirate. Now we got to put someone on the land. And once you're on the land, the game just is boring. It's uninspired. There's like a whole bunch of, like shops and everything, but the game just lacks any kind of life. And unfortunately, the game really does look like it came out the next day after Black Flag. Like, I hate to be so critical, or again, it comes across as mean, but it really does. Like the characters themselves don't look great. They don't move. Like there is a performance and a quality mode. Couldn't tell you which one's on, like, because it just doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. I put up a screenshot on Twitter, and it really did kind of just distill all of my feelings when it comes to the way the game looks and the way the game feels. Is that while you're sailing, you'll come across these like larger than life storms, and you'll see lightning, you'll see the wind shift and everything. But once you actually just look at what the storm is, it's just gray. It's just a gray screen over the water. There's no texture to it. There's no like line. It's just a gray.
It's a fog
frame.
of war in the N64 games I've been playing for the last.
I mean,
it's like Turok
essentially. And it's just really like frustrating, where it's like, man, we waited 11 years
right
for this.
We've moved past this, or at least mostly moved past what that is, or at least in that way. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, the message here, where it is, we just have moved on from whatever sort of systems or expectations. They're not contemporary anymore. This game feels like it should have come out on the 360 or PS3 or Xbox One and PS4, like the early days. Like at that time, this would have been a marvel to play. This would have been like, wow, this is really inventive. I posted the picture in our Discord. Yeah. The other weird thing is that for some reason your boat has a stamina meter.
Oh, all right.
Because ships just run out of steam, I guess. I don't know.
And to replenish your stamina, you just eat a banana.
On the boat regens with bananas.
If you, the captain, eat a banana, you get a boost in stamina.
Well, maybe it's just you that's tired. Maybe you're just tired. You need that potassium. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, where it's like the game has something there, is the ship combat, but then there's all these different systems and everything, and it just gets a little
convoluted.
It's a little convoluted. It's too much, and I feel like we lost the plot here, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I wish there was just a little more here for me.
Well, at least
I wish it was Black Flag. That's all we need to say. Is it should have been Black Flag. End of story. That was the basis of a great pirate game. Why did they do this?
It also didn't help that we got this game years after Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, well, now Sea of Thieves is on every console, so really, this is like even worse for them.
It really is.
Sea of Thieves is
worst timing ever.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves is great with friends. Like talking about how Helldivers is a game you can just be like, okay, we failed. That stinks. Or okay, we didn't get things done the way that we wanted to, so to speak, or whatever. But it's just a great, like, it's if you want a game with friends and you just want to shoot the shit for a couple hours, I think some missions in Sea of Thieves takes a little too long to complete, in my opinion, but they're still fun. If you
Sure.
want to just get something done, do goofy stuff, also make progress, it doesn't feel like it's too weighty. It doesn't feel like it's too serious. Sea of Thieves is perfect for that,
Mm-hmm.
and has
Yep.
been for the last 3 years since I first tried it. It's been a while since I picked it up, but like, it's such a it's great. I mean, when it comes to the pirate stuff, to me, it's right there. That's what you
Yep.
need. But anyways, Skull and Bones. I haven't played it, so it's hard to like compare specifically. But based on what you're saying,
Yeah. I think if you're really into pirates, if you're really into ship combat, I think there's something here. But right now, as a full price game, I just struggle to recommend it.
damn,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
shame. Yeah, after everything that
Um,
we've been through to get to that point, it's a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. The last game I just want to touch on, very high level. I started playing it last night at the time we're recording it, is Balatro or Balatro. It's the poker roguelike game
Oh, that thing.
that came out.
Yep.
And Dave, this is a Dave ass game if I've ever heard one. Like
Shit.
it is so fun. So I joked around about it on Twitter as well. Like I played it for 3 hours last night. There's a known issue on Xbox. They're working on it where there's no sound. If you're playing on stereo, I spoke to them and kind of tried, like, there's a workaround at this point. But if you have your audio settings on stereo or surround sound, audio just can't play. So you have to switch it to like HDMI or something like that, or uncompressed, whatever.
Okay.
Anyways, I played it in complete silence for 3 hours and had the best time. So essentially what it is exactly what it sounds like, a poker roguelite. So you're playing poker against a computer, and as you go, you're facing like different various enemies in waves. So first like round, if you will, is the small blind, which you have to reach a total of $400 by getting flush, straight, any kind of poker hand, right?
Okay.
Once you do that, then you go to the next boss, which is or the next dealer, big blind, which is in this case $800. So again, you're just trying to amass enough combos to get essentially 800 points to then defeat that one. And then you get to the third wave of that round, which is the boss blind, and essentially in this case $1,200, but it has like one randomly selected buff or debuff in the game. So for instance, for every hand that I was playing in this one specific round, 2 cards out of my deck would be pulled, and it would just keep doing that every single round.
I see. Okay.
So, and every hand you can either you can dole out your hand, or you can discard. You have a certain amount of hands that you can put on the table, and a certain amount of discards as well. So essentially you're just trying to amass a certain amount of points, beat that blind, go on to the next one, and after you're done those 3, you move on to the next wave, which is called like an ante, which is much more difficult. And you're trying to build yourself all the way up to the ante 8, which is the highest wave, if you will. In between, you're gaining money, unlocking new cards to build your deck out. So it is a deck builder as well. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to. It's a roguelite, so you're building your deck. But if you fail, if a boss beats you, you go all the way to the beginning and you kind of start again. It sounds like there's a lot of systems, but once you actively start playing the game, it's so fluid, it's so fast. And it is one of those games where you're like, oh, I'm just going to play one more round, because it's very addictive.
Interesting. Okay, I could see that. I could see. I pulled up the Steam page so people can see it and stuff too. But yeah, it looks like. I mean, it literally says on the description underneath in Steam, says like encourages you to quote unquote break the game. Because you're doing all those things that you were mentioning and all that. Let's damn. Yeah. Okay. Well, I clicked add to wish list. It's less than $20, honestly. Yeah. I could probably just buy it and kill not 3 hours, but probably 10 in one shot.
I'm looking forward to it now that I have the workaround on the audio.
Sure.
In between all the rounds, you can unlock like new Joker cards, which have these like randomized perks for you. So it adds a little bit of like RNG to the entire game. It's really fun. This game kind of just snuck up on me. I heard a lot of people talk about it when reviews came out. I was like, all right, I gotta put at least a little bit of time into this and talk about it on the show, just because it is we love a good roguelike on this show every once in a while.
I absolutely love that style of game.
Yeah.
So shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew it was going to be up your alley, so I wanted to at least touch on it. But yeah, we should let everyone go. It's been a great week, with Final Fantasy. Bobby, where can people find your written review and keep up with everything Console Creatures and yourself online?
Under the shadow of the Earth Tree.
Right.
Yes. No. You can find us everywhere. Every social media page. Just look up Console Creatures. We're there. We're everywhere. That's all you need to know.
All there, everywhere. I will say, I just mentioned that I pulled up the page for people to see on Steam of Balatro. Video versions of the podcast. Anytime that we get a chance to make sure that we're putting it up, check it out. We got trailers that we'll pull up, sometimes gameplay. Like I just pulled up the Steam page. People can see that. It's all going to be available. So if you want to see our lovely faces and see some of the stuff that we're talking about, find us on YouTube as well. So that's another thing to add to the list. Yeah.
Very cool. Yes.
Legitimately, yeah. We're on everything. If you want TikTok, we got there. If you want YouTube, we're there. If you want Spotify, I think we're there. We're there.
We're on Spotify. We're Spotifying.
We're everywhere.
Like, as my parents call it, the Spotifyer. We're there. Yeah. I don't know why.
Dave,
I don't know why that's what they call it, but it's been that way for
I like it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I like it. Dave, where can people find you online?
At Dave Petro across the board. I've tried to streamline it for sure. But if you want to follow my my ridiculous journey through the Nintendo 64, Remember 64 show is where you'll find that as well, and of course the podcast itself. Those are the main two ways to find me. But Dave Petro, if you want to be following everything I'm doing for Console Creatures, including reviews and news and everything, that's it. What about you, man?
Yeah, like you, I keep it very easy, very streamlined across the internet. You can find me at Asvigvari on all platforms.
Woot, 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 woot.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll be back next week. We're going to have a whole bunch of cool content that we're cooking up. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in, joining us. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Goodbye.